Welcome to Iraqi Dinar Update, your go-to source for the latest news, expert insights, and real-time developments on Iraq's currency, economy, and financial reforms. Whether you're a long-time investor or just curious about the dinar, you're in the right place. For years now, there's been growing speculation, anticipation, and controversy surrounding the Iraqi dinar and its potential revaluation (RV). This conversation, often whispered between currency holders and debated across forums, has also reached the doors of major American banks. The evolving stance of these financial institutions, particularly Wells Fargo and Chase, paints a revealing picture of how the banking sector responds to rumors, internal knowledge, regulatory pressure, and customer sentiment. I personally made the decision to move away from Wells Fargo. At one point, they were the bank I trusted, but that trust began to erode over time, not because of account issues or poor customer service, but because of how they were handling the dinar conversation. They had adopted a stance that felt not only overly cautious but also dishonest. They told their clients outright that the Iraqi dinar was a scam. That kind of declaration didn't sit right with me. It wasn't based on nuanced facts or thoughtful analysis. Instead, it felt like a broad-stroke dismissal of something that's far more complex and globally intertwined. It came across as paranoia disguised as prudence. But for those of us who have done our homework, who have watched Iraq's monetary policy unfold, who have tracked the Central Bank of Iraq's reforms, and who understand international finance, those kinds of black-and-white statements seemed not only misleading but intentionally dismissive. This kind of language from Wells Fargo made me feel like they weren't interested in understanding or even acknowledging what many of us believe to be an unfolding, legitimate monetary event. It's not about hyping conspiracy theories. It's about the facts on the ground: Iraq's increasing foreign currency reserves, the purchasing of gold, the involvement of the IMF, and the digitization of their financial system. If you've followed all this, you know there's substance behind the idea that Iraq's currency will eventually be revalued or reinstated on the global foreign exchange, Forex, markets. So, I made a change. I moved my attention over to Chase. Now, Chase has never been easy to deal with when it comes to foreign currency questions. At first, they were equally stubborn. They too would give vague answers, redirect questions, or simply say, "We can't comment on that." However, I noticed that Chase's resistance was more about uncertainty than it was about ridicule. They didn't accuse customers of being part of a scam. They didn't act as if you were foolish for asking about the dinar. Instead, their tone was more reserved, more guarded, as if they were told to stay silent until the time was right. Around January of this year, things started to shift in tone. That's when I noticed a peculiar change in how Chase representatives began to speak about the matter. Instead of offering deflection or trying to steer the conversation away from the dinar, they started telling customers more directly, "We don't know anything." Think about it. Why would a bank need to issue uniform responses or deny knowledge unless there's something they're intentionally not saying? This is the hallmark of sensitive, classified, or pending financial developments. We've seen similar behavior in the past surrounding global shifts like Basel III banking reforms or IMF-driven currency resets. The banking world doesn't make announcements like the media. It moves in quiet, calculated steps. And when institutions the size of JP Morgan Chase begin changing the tone of their language, especially across multiple branches and departments, it means something is happening internally, even if the public isn't yet supposed to know about it. What's even more striking is what's happened over the last 2 months. I've been getting more phone calls than ever from people, regular people, experienced investors, and currency holders alike, telling me something that stops me in my tracks every time. "You're not going to believe what Chase just told me." They go on to share stories about how bank employees, who were previously silent or dismissive, are now acknowledging the dinar. Some are hinting. Some are outright confirming that they know. But what does that mean? It means the walls of silence are beginning to crack. Banks that were once quick to call it a scam are now watching quietly, listening, and preparing. And their employees, some of whom are connected to departments that handle wealth management, currency exchange, or even internal compliance, are letting it slip that the dinar is not just some speculative rumor. It's something real. It's something that's been monitored closely. The only missing piece is timing. And this is where the fog thickens. Everyone knows it's not a question of whether it will happen. The remaining uncertainty is asterisk when asterisk and asterisk how much star. And between the two, the when is far more elusive than the how much. In fact, when it comes to the potential exchange rate or valuation figures, we already have educated guesses, IMF modeling, purchasing power parity charts, real effective exchange rate, RER, analysis, and more. If you've followed the numbers, you know there are realistic projections. Some estimates put the new value of the dinar anywhere between 50 cents to $3. It varies depending on how Iraq re-enters the market, whether with a managed float, a fixed peg, or a full reinstatement to its pre-war rate. But the timing asterisk, that's the closely guarded secret. And it's not just hidden by the Iraqi central bank. It's also guarded by international regulators, large financial institutions, and geopolitical timing. Because make no mistake, this isn't just a monetary shift, it's a geopolitical one. The revaluation of Iraq's currency is tied into oil exports, regional stability, digital infrastructure, and international partnerships with entities like China, the US, and the EU. It's about when Iraq can finally stand on the world stage as a fully sovereign, financially integrated nation again. It's about when their domestic reforms, like anti-corruption measures and digitized banking systems, align with international standards. And it's about when major players, like JP Morgan, the IMF, and the US Treasury, decide the timing is safe, strategic, and beneficial to the broader financial ecosystem. So, yes, Chase knows. Wells Fargo knows. Bank of America knows. The international banks know. The Federal Reserve knows. It's not a secret anymore. The only thing that remains hidden is the precise moment this shift will be unleashed to the public. And in the meantime, what do? We wait, but not passively. We watch. We listen to the changes in tone. We track the public statements made by the Central Bank of Iraq. We pay attention to IMF Article 4 consultations, to statements from advisors like Saleh and al-Nusayri. We observe when banks suddenly change policies or quietly reintroduce foreign currency desks. We mark it when lower denomination Iraqi notes are spotted. All of this tells us a story in slow motion. Thanks for tuning into Iraqi Dinar Update. If you found this content helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a beat on Iraq's evolving financial landscape. Stay informed and stay ready.